Hello, and welcome to my 10-minute review of joints. Now, this is not part of today's lecture. You can skip it if you want, but some students seem to like a short review of the previous lecture. So we start out by the classifications of joints. We looked at the structural classifications and the functional classifications of joints. I will have these classifications and their subtypes as multiple choice questions. I'll ask you, what is a fibrous joint? What is a cartilaginous joint? What is a synovial joint? So the fibrous joints are held together by fibers, dense, regular fibers in most cases. Those were our gomphoses. Those were our sutures. And this weird one here called a syndesmosis. That's found between the tibia and the fibula, and the ulna and the radius. Now, the cartilaginous joints are held together by cartilage. Their subtypes are the Synchondroses, which is hyaline cartilage. You need to know that. It is found between the ribs and the sternum. And actually, technically, the sternum and the costal cartilage and the ribs and the costal cartilage. It's also the epiphyseal plate. That's a joint. Then the Symphyses. That is made out of fibrocartilage. You need to know that. That is the intervertebral disc and the pubic symphysis. Then synovial joints are special. They have a joint capsule. We looked at all 8 types. Now, we also have our functional classifications. On the quiz, I'm going to give you the functional classifications. You have to tell me what it is. So a synarthrosis does not move. Those are our sutures, our gomphoses, and our synchondrosis. Our amphiarthrosis is a little bit movable. The syndesmosis sneaks in there. The symphysis, it moves during childbirth here, and you could arch your back. And then fully movable is the diarthrosis. We then looked at synovial joints. They all have a joint capsule, and I'm going to ask you what the parts of the joint capsule are. So we have this fibrous outer layer. We have a inner epithelial layer that produces synovial fluid that helps to lubricate the joint. We have articular cartilage, that's hyaline cartilage, over the bone endings, and that reduces friction as well. And we have ligaments, and there are 2 types of ligaments. Extracapsular are the outside ligaments, intracapsular are the inside, and they help to increase the strength. Then there's articular discs or menisces. They help to have the bones fit together, they give slightly additional movement, and so forth. So we then talked about movement. I will ask you the definitions of the movement types. We have gliding, which is sliding back and forth. We have rotational movement, which basically the pivots. And then we have all of our angular motions. We have flexing, which is reducing the angle, and extending, which is increasing. Abduction, going towards the midline, and adduction, taking away. Circumduction, that's the hokey pokey, you put your left arm out and shake it all about. We're going to do a discussion talking about these motions, and I will ask you the definitions of them on the upcoming joint quiz. We also talked about the special motions. We talked about pronation, which is turning your hand from palm up to palm down, versus supination, palm down to palm up, so you can carry the soup. Depression, you're lowering something, so you depress your jaw to open it to eat. Elevation is to raise it. Inversion and eversion. You do not supinate or pronate your feet. You invert and you evert it. Right now I have ice on my ankle as we speak because I have an inversion problem on my foot, not a pronation problem. Can you tell that's my pet peeve? Dorsiflexion, you are taking your toes and they're going towards your tibia, versus plantar flexion, you're going away from your tibia. Protraction, you are bringing it away forward. Retraction, you're bringing it backwards. We then looked at the different types of joints. I will ask you the definitions of these as well. A planar joint, 2 things slide next to each other. A hinge joint, it works like a hinge. It moves in a single axis, 90 degrees. A pivot joint, you have it between the ulna and the radius, and you have it between the dens of the axis and the atlas that it ain't got no body. So a condylar joint, a lot of them are confused with hinge joints. A hinge joint, it's firmly in place. It only is moving in one plane. This condylar joint, you have a concave portion a rounded portion right here, and you can go that left and right. You can a deduct and a abduct. You can flex, extend, and hyperextend. Oh, remember my battle for the lunate being one of the bones that actually is part of this condylar joint. I was reading your textbook the other day. One chapter says it is, one chapter says it's not. So the lunate is part of this joint. I was right. So a saddle joint, we have two bones that sort of fit in between each other. In the lab, try to see it on the model. And basically, this one could go this way and this way. This one could go this way and that way. So it's sort of like a horse getting ridden by a cowboy. And then balls and socket joints, no one has ever gotten this wrong. A ball goes into a socket. So again, I'm going to give you an example, and I'm going to ask you what type of joint that is. Our last section was what ligaments are in each joint. In the lab, you have to know tendons too, but for this, you just need to know ligaments. And what I'll do is I'll say which ligament is found in the shoulder or which ligament is not found in the shoulder. So the shoulder, we have the acromion and the coracoid process. So we have the coracoacrominal ligament. We have the coracoid process and the humerus, coracohumeral ligament. We have the glenohumeral ligament right there. And those are the main ligaments I talked about. I like the elbow ligaments. We have the ulnar collateral ligament. I need to make sure I'm on the right side. There's the medial epicondyle, so that's the ulnar collateral ligament. We have the radial collateral ligament right there. And my favorite, the annular. Look at the model in lab on this. I did a lot of effort so you could actually see how the annular ligament wraps the head of the radius. Nobody's ever gotten the hip ligaments wrong. They're very well named. We have the iliofemoral ligament, ilium to femur. We have the pubofemoral ligament, superior ramus of the pubic bone to femur, and ischiofemoral ligament. So again, please don't be the first student to ever get that one wrong. The knee ligaments, we have cruciate ligaments and we have collateral ligaments. On the lab exam, more than the lecture exam, pay attention because I'm going to say both lateral collateral ligament and lateral cruciate ligament. The medial and lateral ligaments are collateral ligaments. The anterior and posterior are cruciate ligaments. They make a cross. They're internal ligaments. The lateral collateral ligament is on the lateral side, going to the tibia, or going to the fibula. See, I was reading tibia right there. And the medial collateral ligament goes from the medial epicondyle to the tibia. So that is our 8-minute review. Again, go through the study guide. You have a quiz on this instead of a lecture test, so it might be a little bit easier. I'm not as creative on my questions for the quiz. So have a good day.